We got some movement and Rutgers football coaching staff and some final thoughts on Rutgers basketball.
Okay, what is it tonight? Please just tell me what.
Okay, happy Friday. Hope you're all enjoying a terrific week and heading into a good weekend, although we're going to have some more weather this weekend. It's been old man winter. It's made a roaring comeback. The season just came in from outside, kind of blustery, kind of chilly. So I got a little something going. Actually ran out of, how dare I run out of Eric LeGrand's cast strength. So I'm enjoying some Jack Daniel's single barrel proof right now. Excellent. Cheers. Nonetheless, maybe not a whole lot to tip a glass to for Rutgers athletics currently, but nonetheless, we have some things to talk about. We have some coaching movement, and then I want to put some final touches on our loss to Iowa. So we'll get to that by the end of the video. Not a surprise, Rutgers defensive back coach Mark Orphrey is leaving for Texas to become to coach their safeties. He's from Houston, so he's going back home, and he joins another former Rutgers coach that we don't talk about a lot. Probably shouldn't, and that's offensive coordinator Kyle Flood. Nonetheless, Mark was defensive cornerbacks coach since 2022. He put in work at Alabama as a defensive analyst. We listen with our guys being the analysts at Alabama. That's a good thing. I still would like to know what an analyst does day to day. Like, what's up with that? Nonetheless, Mark had stops at Alabama, Utah State, Montana State, South Carolina, Texas Southern. He replaces Blake Gideon, who goes to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was one of those interesting teams at the beginning of the year that some picked as a dark horse team to maybe get to the playoff. And they pulled off some big wins early, but they kind of came back to the pack like they usually do. Nonetheless, we wish Mark luck with his new gig in Texas. And look, they were a semifinal team. They had the 7th-ranked pass defense or the 7th-ranked defense, and it's a university with a lot of money. So that's definitely a step up from him up the NCAA ladder. This past season, we all know our defense took a step back. I think we were ranked 87th. And a lot of that was injuries. Yes, we had a lot of injuries, but not being able to get a pass rush, knock the quarterback down, kind of affects, it does affect the secondary and how well we're able to play defense and pass defense. So we can't kill Mark for that. He does beat out Notre Dame's Mike Mickens and Pittsburgh's Corey Sanders. And as Richie from the Night Report said, no, not that Corey Sanders that played basketball for Rutgers. He, it was thought, interestingly enough, when, we struggled for 2 months to find a defensive coordinator, we hired Sparba as a co-defensive coordinator. A lot of people thought that maybe Orphrey was now the guy, the internal guy that can take the next step up, and so you'd have two guys, that maybe are not don't have the experience and play calling that you're looking for, but together they might have formed the co-defensive coordinating team. But obviously that went to Rob Smith, and then we lose Drew Lascari, who coached the safeties, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's going to be interesting to see how well we respond. We're losing Eric Rogers. We're losing Longerbeam. We're losing Tyree, although he's not in the secondary. Those guys putting pressure certainly impacts how the back of the defense plays. But Mark, look, he has guys on his resume that did pretty well. I mean, Christian Braswell and Max Melton, Eric Rogers, Longerbeam, all those guys. I don't know. Braswell, actually. He probably did at some point. But all those guys made all Big Ten at some point. He comes in. The average yards we give up per game is, almost 30 yards per game less, so that's always a positive. The defense was ranked 16th overall the year before and 10th in passing, so that probably stood out and was able to get him a job considering the dearth of bodies that he had at his disposal to step in and fill in competently for all those guys that were hurt. Nonetheless, we wish Mark well, and also we wish well our new cornerbacks coach, assistant quarterbacks coach, David Rowe. He is now the full-time quarterbacks coach. He played under Greg Schiano, 2008 to 2011. He joined Schiano in Tampa Bay, 2013. He's bounced around as a coach. High school teams, Valdosta State, Central Michigan, and he is the second Rutgers player to have a coaching gig. He joins tight ends coach Scott Malone, and I kind of like that. There's incremental progress. Take your experience to another place, you get a different kind of experience, then you move up the ladder. Now you're at Rutgers, you're the assistant cornerbacks coach, and now it's time for you to step into that spot. And hopefully he'll be able to put the pieces together with, the rest of the defensive staff, because we're losing guys to the NFL, and we picked up guys in the portal, and we have some pretty good recruits that we need to bring it all together and be better on defense, not get gashed in the running game, and be a little stiffer in the passing game. Boy, that Washington game, we got kind of torn up in the passing game that game. Nonetheless, good luck to Mark and Dave. Some good news in a time period where there's not a lot of good news with Rutgers athletics. We lose a 4-star running back, Jalen McGill from South Carolina. He decommits. He's most likely going to go back to an SEC school, and he's probably getting a little something. Nonetheless, these are the 5 guys that are invited to the NFL Combine. If you had number 5, you're a smarter guy than I. Obviously, Kyle got an invite to the Combine. Holland Pierce. Now, Holland Pierce, doing my mock drafts over the past few weeks, Holland Pierce was nowhere to be found in anybody's mock drafts. But he now has made his way up to like the 3rd round. And don't be shocked if Holland Pierce goes a little bit higher than that. It's one of those things, Rutgers guy under the radar, and they're like, whoa, this guy was a walk-on. So good luck to Holland. Good job by him. Tyree, Robert Longameme, and then Austin Riggs. And you thought a long snapper transfer at a BYU was of no consequence. Surprise. Good job, Austin. He gets to go to the NFL Combine. So there's a quick wrap-up of Rutgers football coaching and player movement. Basketball. We lost to Iowa the other night by 11 in a game that a lot of people thought we could win. Steve Politi, who drove me crazy over the years. Every once in a while, quite often, wants to make me pull my hair out, and I have a lot of hair to pull out. Posts on X. I couldn't even get through it all. All the ways we failed Ace and Dylan. Okay, let's get to it. Is it a disappointment that these 2 5-star recruits who shocked the world by coming to Rutgers, should we have felt better for them in order to be in a better position to not only showcase Rutgers, but to showcase their talents with a winning team that's going to go deep into the tournament. Yes. Appreciate the fact, even though it's not amateur athletics anymore, they're getting the bag. We appreciate the fact that they wanted to come here and take a chance on Rutgers. So all that's good stuff. And individually, these guys put up some pretty impressive statistics. But I don't see it as how we failed them. And this is like a New York, New Jersey thing where we love our stars. College sports is not as big as professional sports, so we take the professional sports mentality into our college sports. And it can't be the stars' fault. It has to be everybody else. They stink. But everybody on this team was failed. And the coaching staff failed the team. We'll get to some of that in a minute. And the team failed their teammates and coaching staff. So it's, and I've said this a bunch of times, it's not like Steve Politi, at least on paper, didn't go out and do what he needed to do to make this team better. Tyson Acuff, 8th leading scorer in the country last year. Does he stink? Durkak, Metro Conference Player of the Year. The Energizer Bunny. Yeah, okay. Sometimes he tries to force some things, but he's that guy that he wants to put some life into the offense, drive to the basket, and he gives you that. He's had some good games. He's had some games where he disappeared, had some games where he played for 3 or 4 minutes. That's kind of strange. We'll get to that. We stunk at three-point shooting. We go out and get Zach Martini, PJ Hayes, 40% three-point shooters. Okay. Shooting is not something that depends on where you play. Either you can shoot or you can't. Jay Will, our only returning upperclassman double-digit scorer. Okay. Like the energy that he brought. Maybe he starts the season. Dylan increases his minutes, he takes over, and then you have Jay Will coming off the bench. And then Lathan and Dylan Grant have been pretty productive, at least offensively. So it's not like Ace and Dylan, the rest of the team failed these guys. But I will say this. The coaching staff absolutely failed at putting the pieces of the puzzle together to form a cohesive unit and get the offensive and defensive sets right. Said this a million times. We don't play good team basketball. We don't defend well. We don't defend in the paint. We don't defend the three very well, unless it's Columbia. I always mention how we get out-assisted last night, except against Iowa. They had one more. We had one more assist than Iowa, but we lost the game nonetheless. But instead of taking these crazy shots, if you can do a better job at facilitating, now Dylan's a great facilitator. Maybe needs to do more of that, a little less scoring, more finding the open guy, and guys having to hit their shots, and the sets have to be right. And finding the right mix. Coach Peichel, how many different lineups did he experiment with? And as soon as he think you found one, okay, we got it, and then, we win one, lose one. One, lose one, lose one. And I've talked about this a million times. Can a coach who wants to play defense and wins based on grit, determination, defense, playing well together, rebounding, would he be able to coach on dominant on-ball guys who can create their own shots? And if we can become a better offense, can he balance that out with playing good defense the way that he wants to and that we need to play in the Big Ten in order to win? They couldn't get it done. They didn't get it done. And you can tell there was maybe an air of desperation. I mean, we have guys that kind of disappear, that they don't uh, do any scoring or do very little scoring, then they break out and they get double digits. Or, you got Durkak sitting on the bench or Jay Will sitting on the bench. They play 3 or 4 minutes, trying to find and mix and match the pieces together and find the secret sauce hasn't worked out at all for Coach Peichel. Now, with the exception of going out and get a big man, a rim protector, on paper, he made the right moves. Sometimes things just don't work out. And I've said this before, KD and Kyrie Irving, 2019 Nets. All of a sudden, there was a lot of Brooklyn Nets fans, barely over 500. Didn't work out. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. So I don't, as much as Politi wants to say we failed them, the entire team, the entire university and fans have been let down by the team's play. And, let's face it, Ace and Dylan individually, they can put up good stats on any given night. Ace, I don't know how many times, he's got a bunch of games this year with no assists whatsoever. He's going to be a solo act. As we said, Dylan is a little bit, terrific passer. Has to work on his 3 a little bit. These guys are definitely flawed superstars. I'm sure NBA teams will take a chance on their upside and say, it's because they failed them. But I don't necessarily see these guys as no-brainer top 5 NBA lottery picks. And the fact that they weren't able to make their team better is, I don't want to be too harsh. Maybe it's not how they're built and maybe it's not the right fit for them. But as a coaching staff, you got to figure it out. You have 2 potential top 5 lottery picks. Not only are you not making the big dance, not only are you 95% likely not making the NIT, but you're below 500. I mean, how does that even happen? Look, we know what they stink at on any given night. But they have to develop some chemistry to cover up some of those short failings. Do we have great defenders? No, we don't. When Ace and Dylan leave, we're going to need some wing defenders. We're going to need a rim protector. We're going to need some shooters. But sometimes, a lot of times, defense is about effort. Remember those Mike Woodson New York Knicks teams? Shooting 3s all day, Carmelo lighting it up. Their defense wasn't great, but they played really good team basketball. What they had, 50 wins, 55 wins, whatever it was. We don't play well together, and it's a team and program failure. It's not just that the 2 stars, you failed the 2 stars. Everybody's really disappointed. Nonetheless, that's my rant on, ironically, on Steve Politi and the Rutgers rant. Well, he wasn't on the Rutgers rant when he posted that on X, but nonetheless, we go into Oregon this weekend, 17-8. They started off pretty hot, cooled off a little bit, but if we go 12-14, boy, nobody, who would have thought that? As I said the other day, I thought, 17-8 at this point, maybe 16-9 would have been about where we were with, some new transfers, 2 hotshot recruits. You need to come together, play well as a team. So I figured 17-8, 16-9 is about right, and you make that stretch run to get to the tournament. But it is what it is. Nonetheless, everybody enjoy. Be safe this weekend. We're going to have more crazy weather, and we'll see you the next time. I need a little something. Boy, Rutgers, football and basketball is enough to make me drink. I swear. Have a good weekend, everybody.